Live. Hey, everybody.
Episode 69. Woo!
Nice.
Nice.
Hello, everyone. Fallon here. Welcome to episode 69. We just had one of the best patches in a while. 6.2. Meowth's dying. It's starting off strong.
Starting off nice.
We killed Meowth.
We're all
she
drunk.
Was rambling.
We
Just
weren't
like a year
She was
ago.
already dead.
Just like a year ago, she had come back from about a year's worth of laughing off. There we go.
Fools, death does not exist here.
We missed that laugh.
As you can tell, Meowth is very, very excited for this match.
All right. All right.
Remember to breathe.
There's going to be none of that during this episode, and if there is, it's going to be in the very
Go ahead.
suggestive way.
All right, guys, in chat, how was everybody's experience with 6.2? I loved it, for one. I've been saying this for a couple days now, but I wish I could play it twice, and I know New Game Plus will come out, but, like, the nostalgia
You
trip...
haven't played Pandemonium, fuck you!
The nostalgia trip is just really strong. It's true. Pandemonium's next week. So I took my time. Yeah, it's been really great. I just, like, I might actually do this expert roulette every single day just because of the soundtrack. It drives me crazy.
I love the music in Troya. I literally went to YouTube and I just have it up playing in the background while I work on
Troyan
stuff.
Beauty.
So good.
Great track.
It's really amazing. I'm kind of bummed out, though, the way the story went, where we, you know, actually turns out we finished off Troya. So, more or
Yeah.
less.
There's always explore mode.
We'll be able to use Explorer mode, and I'm sure we'll fix it eventually.
How about the mind trip of the twisted hallways?
At the beginning, yes, that was very trippy. I was like,
Yeah,
how did they do that?
I assume it has to do with like the darkness flood. If it warped stuff, I'm very curious.
Yeah, they've
honestly.
used that phrase
Especially
forever,
since it
right?
got less visibly warped as we got toward the end.
Yeah, like it was very warped at the beginning, and then when we got closer to the top, it was less so. And then when we got to the keep itself, there was no warping, but there were those like walls that were like breaking apart, and it had like upside down reflections.
So
of your character.
it reminded me a lot of Anti-Tower when we were going across that little bridge, but I think based on what we learned that the domains kind of take the form of the domain masters, you know, whatever place they consider to be home.
Mm-hmm.
But the further away you get from that, the less like coherent that becomes. And so you get a lot of that warping, and by the time you get to the center and the core of that domain, everything's pretty much straight lines. Dr. Seuss doesn't exist here anymore, and yeah.
Did I take that storyline correctly? That, like you said, the domains are just kind of the corporeal mind spaces of the strongest void scent that owns the domain?
That's kind of how I understood it.
That's kind of weird. And I don't know when we got to we're probably gonna bounce around a lot today, right?
Oh yeah.
I imagine. When we got to Zero's domain, I got serious Kingdom of Baron vibes. I don't know if that's intentional or if I'm just tripping, but I was looking at the very boxy castle structure of the area, and I'm like,
True.
I just had this
I could see it.
feeling.
I fixated on the overworld music from 4 playing in Zero's domain.
I was
Right.
like, whoa.
There was a lot. I liked it a lot.
I want to
Yeah.
go back. Why didn't they just leave
Yeah.
it open, man?
Tenebrae, actually, my wife was like, she thought Troya reminded her a lot of Hollow Bastion. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts vibes.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Hollow Bastion for
Let's
sure.
not.
No, there's some parts of that franchise that are good. I won't say all,
Yes.
but there
Mostly
are
from
some.
the first game.
Yeah, basically.
The other unifying factor was everything was Italian as all hell.
That's from 4.
Yeah, it was. What did you say, Cobb?
A lot of that's from 4.
I figured as much, but it was still interesting to see it that they're really leaning into that idea.
I like that we got voice acted names, which is no surprise, but it was nice to see them. Like, how does
I've
this
been
match up with
pronouncing-
your 6-year-old self or not?
I've been pronouncing Barbaricia wrong for 30 something years.
It's crazy. It's all right. They translated it wrong to begin with.
Fair.
The Super Nintendo release was Val Valis, which is weird.
Oh, is it my turn to give my thoughts on it?
Please.
Oh. So I'm not normally one that goes dark, edgy, spooky, rah. But this one was pretty good. I mean, it didn't hit that. It didn't go fully into that edgy kind of area where I just said, okay, now they're just trying too hard. I did, however, feel that they rushed a little bit in the beginning, because I expected to go a little bit more into the how can we make these scales of warding a little bit stronger. Because the last time in 6.1, we just said, oh, this would be a good idea to set up for the team. I expected to go into this and kind of look more into, well, how are we going to get this done, instead of, well, we'll just throw some armor on it and let's go in. So I just felt it was a little bit rushed at the beginning, but as I kind of went along in the story, I can see why they did. Entering Troya was very soon, and I loved Troya. I loved it. A lot of those mobs are pretty chunky.
They are, yeah.
Scarmiglione, I can see why they put him as a dungeon boss, and though I expected him as one of the 4 fiends being 4 trials, canonically he is supposed to be extremely weak.
That's
Weak.
true. Yeah,
And
you fight him on
interesting.
ordeals. Mount ordeals, it's a very straightforward fight.
So I could see him as both a solo duty and a dungeon boss. So
I gotta say, I was ecstatic that they did not announce a trial, because they did them out of order, and I was really happy because that was all I wanted.
you and your simping
Agreed.
towards Barbaricia.
Well, also, she's a spicy, super tall Highlander, eh?
Yes.
Wielding a very low res sword.
My only gripe is that we didn't get to see her tornado twisty
Yeah,
thing
same.
and Estinian jumping and breaking it. That's
Yeah.
it.
I
Well,
had
she
actually
literally-
spent some time thinking how that might be possible, and I was like, that would be damn hard to do. It would be cool if they could pull it off, but I don't blame them for going a different route
Yeah.
entirely.
She literally turned into this weird crossbreed between the girl from Attack on Titan, Luffy from One Piece, and Bayonetta.
She also reminded me of Califistieri from Void Arc.
I can see
But
that.
yeah.
I wanted to stop on, since you mentioned Scarmiglione, just in the original game, in the original title in 4, where you have 300 hit points going into that fight, and then he back attacks you, and you still have 300 hit points. And then you go and become a paladin, and then the very first regular monster battle you have, you gain 7 levels repeatedly. And suddenly have like 1,400 hit points.
Is that why paladins are broken in PvP?
Maybe.
God, I do remember that leveling curve.
But no, I mean, different game, right? But I think the implications in the story for that game were that he never really wanted to be a Dark Knight, and it wasn't his calling. Like, the King of Baron wanted him to become one, so he did. So, like, he basically changes jobs, literally, and, oh, this turns out to be the one. Gains 7 levels. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Amazing what happens when you play a job you like.
Exactly.
Oh,
The
you mean
paladin,
like
my
me and
static would
Ninja?
like
Yeah.
some of that.
Did any of you think about I mean, obviously we said lots of Italian names, but like the fact that all of these Void Sent that are capable of speaking have names, and we've been killing them for 4 expansions.
Well, they don't stay dead. No, I've actually thought about it a lot in the context of the comparison with Sin Eaters, how Sin Eaters have the will almost suppressed so that they're just instinct,
Right.
whereas these things are like crazy on the want, gimme, all me.
They're hyperactive and super dynamic.
Yes,
Mhm.
the astral aspect. It's funny that it comes to the same thing, that hunger for ether, but one is driven by the will and the other by instincts. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, but yeah, I don't think Sin Eaters really get named much beyond the Light Wardens.
True.
Tesline.
Whereas, if you knew who they were, it's a little different, obviously.
Yeah, but they don't name themselves like we
Why am
see
I
here.
laughing?
Exactly. I mean, sometimes we laugh to relieve stress. It's okay.
Oh boy.
So I want to talk about the aura site, but not yet. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, so we learned that Zero can turn Void Scent into crystals, and we learned that this power is called
I hate it.
Memoria.
The Memoria.
The Memoriettes are the people who can do that.
I hate the
Very-
name Zero.
If you talk to
Yeah, thanks.
Ciela, if you actually talk to Ciela at the end of MSQ, she says that she used to be one of those, but she lost the power when the Asians took her at Uruguay High.
So I think the name Zero was an extremely strange and we'll just say uninspiring nickname to give the first part Void Scent they come across,
I
because
agree.
my mind immediately goes to Zero from Drakengard 3.
Let's just be
Oh,
super
wow.
clear
But
that
it's-
they're
I'm
being
just-
they're being
that's- it's
anime
not-
about this. That's what's happening.
That's not just anime about it, but that's also like, what would you call someone who has, you go across all the names of the Scions, right? And they're all very intricate. They're all very fantasy-like. You come across another possible member of the group, and you just call him Zero. Okay,
I mean, given the Zemus Zeromus stuff, I'm gonna
that
talk
is
about later.
uninspiring, and that's way too
It's
obvious.
lazy. You can say lazy, Ayumi. It's okay.
It is
You're
lazy.
allowed.
It's very lazy, and one of the more lazy plot twists that they've done.
It may also be a red herring too. I wouldn't be shocked.
Right.
I didn't get the strong vibe that, oh no, you're gonna turn into the final boss.
Right.
Actually,
I
I think-
mean,
I think there's going to
chance.
be an
There's a
arc of overcoming. I think there's going to be an arc of overcoming apathy. That's just my opinion.
She's
Did anyone else? Did any of our 4 fans notice when, I think it was when we named her, when she basically was like, "Okay, I'll join you." It played that little da 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 da.
Yes.
I did.
In the she joined the party. It was so cool.
Oh yeah,
I
that game was full
nerded
of
out a
left
bit.
the party, joined the party, left
Yep,
the party,
yep,
joined the
yep.
party.
All I'll say about her at the moment is that I really like her character, and I don't mind that they named her that. I'm just hoping that she sticks around for a long time.
If they tie it to Zeromus, I'll forgive it. But otherwise, it just seems like she's dark and edgy. So let's give her a dark and edgy name.
Anime
That's
name.
basically it. Yeah.
I am certainly expecting a Zeromus connection of some kind. I just hope it doesn't result in us having to kill her.
Same. And they better bring Team B over to the 13th. God damn it. But if
So
you talk when you talk to Team B squad, they basically say, "Nah, we're busy." And I'm like, man.
So I'm gonna put this out there because I'm dropping a video about this, and I've talked about it for a while, but after 6.2, there's a lot more evidence that they're going in this direction, and I do not like it. And I really, really, really hope that Zero is not the 13th shard of the Warrior of Light.
If they go with the Zeromus angle, I'm expecting more likely if they're going to pull any kind of thing like that, it'll be like that this is a shard of Pastron.
Well, I know that
Yeah.
on the Lorecast stream we just did last week with our guests, I mentioned that the trailer showed the Paladin figure, and it turns out that's in Zero's domain, right?
Yes.
So
I also need to have shower of thoughts more often, because I pretty much called that whole, we're going to use that crystal to uncorrupt the Reaper character.
We killed all those Sin Eaters for nothing. No, I'm kidding.
in fact, on that, Ayumi, I'm surprised I didn't catch more wind of this, because the Crystal of Light is used to turn Zemus into his true form, so you can kill him. We still have the crystal. It's in our bag.
So Neoconia brings up an interesting point. She mentioned that the paladin
Wasn't
statue
there
wasn't
before.
there before, which
There's
means,
also,
yeah.
let me bring up some dialogue from one of the void set that was standing near it. Go ahead, keep talking though.
I missed this.
Oh no,
Go ahead.
I think it's just very interesting considering that the domains are formed from the thoughts and memories of the people who are the most powerful voidsent of those domains, which means that by meeting us, it triggered some kind of memory that might be subconscious in Zero about a paladin or a warrior of light or a hero of some kind, and that's why that statue appeared there.
So I've got a bit of dialogue from what's called the waiting void scent. There was a little gremlin standing near it. It says, "Whose likeness is this, you ask? The hero who will save the world. I'm waiting for the day he comes. Or was it a she? I can't remember the details. I don't know how long I've been waiting, or why I even wait. Could you be the hero, perhaps? No, I don't think so. Something tells me I'll know when I'll meet him.
I
Or
know who it
her.
is. I know who it
just
is. I know
how
who it is.
I'll have to keep waiting."
It's gotta be Silva because she's an elf and it has elf ears. Go, 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 go,
Oh,
go,
does
go,
I hadn't
I
noticed
hope
that.
so.
Silva
God.
is a paladin.
go, go, go.
I will say, I also latched onto that little gremlin and made me think a lot of the Shadowbringers gremlin in the trailer.
You
Now
mean
I'm
Emmett
getting all
Self?
the
Fight
right
left
words.
to fight, no life left to live. Still
Mhm.
haven't got the ho it comes, the end, your end.
Still haven't got.
God,
Well, I guess
I
it is
mean,
the 69th one, ho.
I think I would.
Didn't mean it like that.
I think I would die if they made Sayala Silva a main character.
Did anyone catch what the Trojan manservant said before you left the area? Though
Peace.
there's
I'm glad
only-
she's dead.
There's only the one dungeon here. We call it the fourth, the Mistress's Orders.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Carcery
was good.
4.
We don't know why we call it that because there's only one dungeon,
There's only one Final Fantasy.
and it's 14. All the other games are derivative of this one.
But the minions in the dungeon also said, man, like the servant, the big head one. It said I don't have the quote on me, but it said like, man, I'm so tired of orders. I'm glad she did.
Wow, Val.
That's what it said.
Whereas some of the other ones were like, oh god, we gotta find someone else to serve or we're gonna get eaten.
Yep, my mistress, where are you? There was that one minion that that was like really naively praying that maybe if you kill the thing that ate her, she'll come back.
I mean, sorry, we locked him up in Crystal.
Yeah.
And there was the other one that was like, interested in me, are you? Too bad I'm not interested in you. I'm like, let me take you out to dinner first.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's great. What do we think right now about the Memoriat crystals and how they're crystals that have things inside them and she's just letting them drop like on the road? Nobody's picking them up except the one.
I am completely and utterly shocked that they never used that ability against the Asians because that's basically Auracite. And I
Yep.
think it's really strange that when Kalhai, when he first tells us about how the 13 fell, specifically references Auracite, but now that we're actually learning about it, we don't hear anything about Auracite, which makes me wonder about Ultima and what we were thinking about how, well, if they used Auracite on the 13th, then she must have been there, but now we learned it wasn't actually Auracite, and maybe Ultima wasn't actually there, so she's unique to the source.
It's a
Maybe
bit creepy, yeah.
Maybe that's some kind of retcon that they're doing, who knows.
More than likely.
Before they had decided. My interesting take on that, the Memoria crystals, is they kind of reminded me of concept creation crystals.
I freaked out at that because it has the little diamond pattern on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, obviously it was slightly different, but it was so similar that I'm just like,
they look
I
like little
don't know
tiny,
what to think.
They look like tiny concept creation crystals that don't have any like metal caps, but the same pattern, the same general shape.
Yeah. It looks like they reused the asset, and I'm wondering what that means. I mean, it could be, hey, this looks like a cool crystal, but they already had like random crystal of darkness from ARR assets. So the fact that they redid this and used that seems potentially significant.
A little text in the chat if you want to correct me in case I'm wrong.
Thanks for the follow.
Yep. Yeah, we learned earlier that the Warriors of Light on the first did not work together. They were kind of each doing their own thing.
Which follows the theme of darkness and astral being the ego, the self, instead of whereas the Warriors of Light on the first, umbral, the collective, work together too well, and yeah, that
Mhm.
caused problems of a different sort.
Exactly.
Was anyone compelled by the story she gives of her parents and like why she's not a void sent? Because that's something I absolutely never would
Her
have
mother
predicted.
fought that she was eventually touched by the darkness they had fought against, and then thus.
I actually flipped out a little bit because long ago, back in like 5.0, 5.1, I was writing a fanfic where I had because we didn't know who or what the Oracle of Darkness was. So I was like, what if someone was tempered by Zodiac, but they were pregnant? What would the baby be like? And that was my idea. Like,
Yeah.
it's surprisingly
So,
similar.
It is similar.
We've actually seen this before, though, with Vothri,
Mhm.
Yeah.
True.
who was infused with light in the womb. And now, so we have dark Vothri, basically, but not shitty.
Christ.
Oberon, come on.
Dark
I'm not
Vothri.
wrong.
She's a hero.
Sounds like some weird political thing. I'm so sorry.
The light one's evil and the dark one's good.
That's so anime.
We're
Yeah.
back to Shadowbringers
Back
again.
at Shadowbringers
with the
vibes,
flop
I
of
love
the
it.
elements, the elemental wheel.
Hey.
Going over.
I
Go
Go
ahead,
for it.
Meowth, because you've been quiet.
No, I've been quiet because I know exactly what the Memoria crystals remind me of. But I was going to leave the floor to Cobb for that because he was the one who DM'd me.
Don't leave the
Yelling
floor.
on-
Please lead into it.
No. You started the DM screaming to me. You do it.
No,
All
no.
right.
We'll get to that.
Okay, so that's being tabled for now. Well, what else do we have? I mean, how about a coin for your travels across the void?
How about that one dude who's clad in armor? Really? No one? No one's gonna
What,
talk
Golbez?
about the. Yeah, no one's gonna
Clad-
talk about Golbez and
You
how
don't-
he
you
has
Clad
wanna
in
talk about the
darkness, you
guy
mean?
Clad in the dark?
clad in darkness and how he has just a pocket dragon.
He has one eye.
Or we could talk about how at the very end he was
I mean,
like
there's
he
a
was
lot to delve into there.
like the
Sorry.
very last scene in 6.2 before they do that like usual like little blurb thing was him walking away from his throne making all those comments and about his duty, and then there was like a cut of him fighting what looked like the Watcher on the moon in front of Zodiac. I was like, what?
It doesn't look like Zodiac. It looks like something else.
Yeah, it
I
does
mean,
look
I've
like-
looked at my Zodiac cutscenes. It's the
it
same
looks-
kind of imprisonment.
Yeah.
Like
it
I
gave that first
freaked
impression.
out at that point. Like
But
I
he was
can't believe.
definitely- he was definitely fighting what appeared to be the Watcher, though.
Yeah. Well,
So-
or attacking.
Or a she.
Watcher was just kneeling there.
Right.
I want, I think it was a Yumi, to talk about Golbez's throne.
You guys really, really want that, don't you?
I really want that. I really, really want that.
It was just a stupid musing of mine, and suddenly it lanched on. So, Golbez has this really intricate, ornate throne behind him, the design of which kind of looks like an emerald spire.
Yeah, I had-
So,
You know, that's a
Notice.
good point.
Is he the Night Star?
let me talk, damn it.
Oh, Jesus.
So it reminds me a lot of the Emeraldine architecture, all the way down to the very bottom where the spires kind of protrude out. And if you look at the top, near the top, you can see kind of like an ornate, almost like an Asian glyph design from top to bottom. And I originally thought, like, well, let me go back to my notes about, let's say, Dudalafon's sigil, which kind of looked like it to begin with, too. And then I thought, well, what if they're straight up going with 4 references? So I had to look to Zeromos's glyph, too. And either one worked, because you really have to kind of squint at that design, and both kind of work if you either subtract or add to the white areas or black areas.
Or put them together.
Or put them together, yes.
I have so many questions, though, if that ended up being true. Like, why would Golbez be like that and doing what he's doing?
So another thing, too, that could lead into this, with Pastrat, the Night Star, and with what we know about the quote-unquote Black Knight, as he was known before, what we know about the Sundered beings is that they have their own agenda, they have their own plans, and that the Unsundered were keeping them in line. This means that once the three are gone, they're free to pursue whatever agenda they have. Who knows how long they have been doing that? Who knows how long that, if this is Pastora, how long he's been doing this while staying under the radar of Emetzelk, Elidibus, and La Habrea. And that could be a thing because he's on the Void. He's on the 13th. They consider that a dead space, they completely gave up, basically, on the 13th. So you have basically this Sundered Ascian on the 13th, kind of doing his own thing, kind of fiddling around, gathering an army of what's left of the 13th.
For some unknown crusade. He keeps using the word crusade. I'm very about that.
What he says,
The thing
too,
for me
is the prison of passivity is an obstacle to my cause, and so you must fall. The prison of passivity would be the prison of light. And again, we see him in the cutscene about to slice someone in a ancient robe, we assume. And it's interesting with his dialogue at the end, just those two separate sentences about what you can try and add up or what you can try and figure out what his quote-unquote crusade might be.
Yeah. I personally I get the impression that Ascians can chill on the Void without risking ethereal corruption, and I remember what someone pointed out, I forget who it was, someone in Discord pointed out the idea or the point that they had brought up, well, you could make armor out of this sort of thing, and then, slow pan to Golbez, slow pan back to that, slow pan to Golbez. So I'm guessing he's not an Ascian, but that's just a guess. We really don't know. It's possible that a Sundered Ascian would be vulnerable.
It could be a remaining Eidolon. He could also, like Lux Gaming said in the chat, he could very well be the shards. Prison of Passivity could very well be the shards and rejoining. But I gather my thoughts here. Go ahead and speak. I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to remember what else I was. Oh yeah, the thing I was observing for Golbez while you're gathering your thoughts was just the whole controlled by Zemus thing, not in Final Fantasy IV, controlled by a crazy Lunarian, which would be the equivalent of an ancient who hated humanity and wanted them out of the way so they could come back home, basically.
So I remember what it is now. So he made that comment at the end there after the final quest that he says not only losing the 4 fiends, losing his 4 generals, that would not halt his advance, would not halt his crusade, his plans. So you have to consider or think, well, why even losing such powerful entities, powerful, soldiers for your cause, how powerful are you in order to just say that and just, say, oh, well, I'll just find 4 more or just, do this myself pretty much. Neela, you want to go into the translations that we found for French and others?
I haven't had a chance to comb through those. I looked at them last night, but I've been dealing with personal life stuff all morning, so I haven't had a chance to delve into them, I'm afraid. I did find it interesting. I just haven't nitpicked through the details of the differences.
Why don't we take a moment and speak on, and we've already had this knowledge here, but regarding souls when they join a primal and souls when they join a greater void sent? So
Ah,
the game indicates that the persona still is part of that mass of souls. You're still in there somewhere, and you can still see what's going on, but you can't act. And that reminded me an awful lot of the cutscene with Elidibus and Y'shtola.
Can you be sure that you still act with your own will?
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hmm.
So who's in charge of that body? And also, Zero says that she doesn't enjoy consuming other entities and would rather get it naturally. We get some of this at the end of the story when she's eating the apple. I found that really interesting because she was so used to just killing and devouring things that she sucks the ether out of the apple instead of eating it.
It's also interesting. Wasn't it Zero who said that she doesn't really like to consume void scent because she wants to be who and what she is, and she just
That's
takes
right.
like an exchange of ether, but not the self.
Don't dilute the soul.
Whatever
She
that
wants to
involves,
be who she
which
is.
fascinating to me.
Well, the fact that
also
that's even
kind
a
of-
thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of emphasizes that her not being, presumably due to her not being fully corrupted by the flood and by the darkness, she has more self-control and the ability to pull back, or the interest to do so at least.
In the end, if I may, in the end, we spoke about the astral being more like the ego, and the umbral being more like the collectivity, and that's what makes the sin eaters lose themselves or lose their identity or sense of self. But at the same time, I guess losing yourself in drowning in egos is a form of diluting yourself after all. So again,
Yeah.
we're facing voice and singers basically through the same through very basically entire opposite methods that they end up in the same situation, being either being like light or darkness, the same. So yeah, there's that. So what exactly if too much if all darkness also dilutes your ego by you becoming basically a vessel for multiple egos, then where lies the point? I mean, the point, of course, lies in balance, which but that's a trope. That's just so. Uh, that's of course that's the answer. I was going to say, where does the the ego truly reside? It's kind of I mean, I don't know if I make any sense.
No, it does make sense. It's actually a thing I've thought about too, and I wonder about Xenos's discussion about relative power compared to, you know, the Warrior of Light towering above the power of the primals. If in this theoretical thing, Warrior of Light could eat a primal and be fine, though it might change their ethereal composition and their tendency toward fire or whatever.
Van Daniel was able to tower over the egos on Zodiac, so to speak. He was able to suppress a number.
Eventually, yeah.
Took half the fight
So-
till the phase shift.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was an interesting and kind of cool thing that they did.
Oh, it was super cool.
I would have been a lot madder, let's just say, if he had just done it easily.
Same time, I think it's kind of. I mean, it's kind of. If one wants to consider, say, Hydaelyn and Zodiac like the big ass poison and the big ass sin eater, Zodiac is made of a lot of different souls that basically speak different, and until Van Daniel comes and takes hold of them, and Hydaelyn is only Vena's voice, because to create her, the souls of all the others didn't go into her; they sublimated. There's nothing left. So yeah, there's that.
Oh, I'm so tempted to talk about Fandaniel now.
Hmm.
You hate him.
Well, just really quick, I mean, the notion that one could jump into Zodiac, the conglomerate of half and then half again of all ancients and dominate their wills is kind of trippy. The amount of resentment, even if we're taking it as canonically acceptable, that's what happened, man. Like the notion that the level of resentment, nihilism, and antagonism that dude had was just enough to topple like 75% of ancients' wills.
It's implied Van Daniel was the one who basically forced Zero into the pact with Xenos, right?
Well, the
Say again?
Xenos got the information on how to do that, which
Oh,
he did
okay.
with Zero from Van Daniel, most likely.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
that's Yashtola's canonical interpretation of what must have happened. Whenever she speaks in that way, I'm like, yeah, that's the writers talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Fine.
yeah, but I mean, again, what Yastola may think or may think not doesn't really mean it's the truth. Has happened before.
Please no, zombie. Please no. Also, I'm still stuck on Heidelin voring her fellowship.
Yeah.
I see
That
no reason
reminds
to
me.
demur.
I was cracking up I think it was last night. Yeah, during raid or right before raid, someone said something and I realized, wait a minute, we have canonical like void sent vor rules now. I don't know how I feel about this.
Right.
Opens a whole lot of doors.
It opens
And we also
a
have the
whole lot of
story that
doors.
came out this week too.
Oh yes. I'll have to talk about that at some point. I'm not if we'll have time today or not. We have a lot of for the amount of time we spent, playing through the patch. There was a lot of information in there.
There was a ton of information. This patch was a gigantic lore dump, which we've needed and been wanting for a while.
Yes.
I was really satisfied with the gameplay length. I know that my personal playstyle is just so diverted with children and life and all of this, but and I know it wouldn't take this long for the average player, but the fact that I got home from work and kind of played from 4 until 10 casually and got through it, that was a nice chunk of content.
Mm-hmm.
Upsonic says, I take it back. This is the worst expansion. I do not need Cannon Vor. Where were you during Heaven's Word?
Yeah.
Heaven's Word was built around Vor.
Yeah, like it had multiple instances of that.
Oh no!
Cursed with the gift of knowledge.
Sorry. Your favorite holy
But
dragon ate
But
a person.
now that you
And the people ate another dragon.
But now that you mention it, it's kind of if I think of I'm thinking on that now with the revelations of the 13th and the void and the whole thing, not just Razvalgur and Shiva basically performing a poisoned vor thing, but also the fact that drinking dragon blood basically transforms you into a dragon, which is also what happens to sorcerers who become empowered by the void, like Califisteri. It was, and also, what coincidence or not, the Heaven's Wars 24 Men raid series was the Shadow of Mac, which dealt with void sent. So.
Interesting.
So it was kind of this was like an instant sort of brain spark because you were talking about that, but it made Meowth's brain like. So yeah, that's what your jokes do.
My jokes break Mouth's head.
Listen,
Evidence.
There they go again.
I'm.
Yes. Go on.
Speechless.
No, I don't really want to go into that, but thinking of tomorrow's stream, I'm just like excited and just dreading the amount of work I'm going to be doing. So there's that.
So the event that they
said would show up at the end of 6.5 and completely change the course of the game, and 7.0 will be based on it. Do we now have an idea of what it might be?
Yes. I didn't a week ago. I was completely wrong a week ago. Now I'm almost completely convinced I know what it's going to be.
Look, the prediction business is fun, but you know, that not always accurate.
Let's hear it. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I have some thoughts, but I
I
don't
mean,
have
I
anything
entered the
concrete.
shower, came up with that idea, and it turned out to be right. So maybe I should get out the shower later.
My approach, if you guess literally every possibility, you will be right with at least some of them.
So, as some of you, I know Rhapsonic's been watching us, and Alex occasionally as well. No, I've been playing through the 13 trilogy for the first time blind, and I just finished 13 too. And I played through it, and I was like, this game is fun, but it doesn't have a whole lot to do with 14. And then I played 6.2. So 13.2, for those of you who don't know, is about a girl empowered with the power of the goddess who can turn monsters into crystals, and then triggers the flood of darkness on the world. So
Go team.
I'm like,
That's an accurate description.
yeah, and
No
also
joke.
involves a whole lot of time fuckery. And what we're seeing in 6.2 now is we're seeing 2/3 of this, and I'm expecting some kind of time rupture now at the end of 6.5. And I think we're going to get a massive time travel expansion in 7.0.
I'm pretty excited.
Stop it!
Cobran.
Because we have a lot of time fuckery that we need to fix now.
So you're going to be
So-
calling this what 13 stole from 14 again anyway, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be Time Walker.
Time
13 ripped it all
We
off.
just had a Walker one.
Yes, we
Time
can have
Gate.
another one.
Call it Time Gate.
No, please, no, not!
How to get a quit?
Because we still have a lot
in
of
chat now.
outstanding questions about the timeline, and it wouldn't be the first time that during an interview
Hey.
Yoshi P has said one thing, saying, "Oh, just leave it up to your interpretation," meaning, "Hey, we're leaving that open and we can't answer that because we're building an expansion around it to fix all the shit that we broke that we have left open-ended, and 14 doesn't like to leave things open-ended." So that's where I think we're going, because not only is it a lot of 4 influence, but it's a lot of 13 too influence.
We can't retcon this, so we're just gonna make some time travel and fix it. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Yumi.
I'm gonna go play in a different game now.
They're gonna be doing this time travel shenanigans forever.
But the cool thing is, we're gonna possibly go to eras we've never seen before that we've wanted to see, like maybe the 4th Astral era, and some of the other eras. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that would be
mean-
nice.
Let me try and sell you on visiting shards that have been rejoined.
Oh god,
Yeah.
that would be insane.
It would
No,
be
I won't go
bonkers.
back to a. I will
Of course, you
not go
can't
back to
prevent
Azeroth.
it, so probably not. But you know, just a thought. Now imagining the Warrior of Light trying to evacuate all the souls
So
before the
yeah,
rejoining happens.
I did my time on Azeroth like a prisoner did their time on a cell block. So
Thank you for the
So-
brain cancer. Holy crap.
so the-
Paxilux Gaming.
so-
So Battle for Azeroth, I mean, is
so-
Eorzea. The letters almost match. God damn it.
And the thing is, the other day the other day it was Tuesday. I was playing through the patch. My eyes, of course, peeled in case. The void, the 13th, just like being watchful. You can imagine. And I was going through stuff, and then I got like out of a sudden like 5 pings from Cobb, like, "Have you played the patch?" And it's like, oh, so I have more meat and something about meat. Yeah, so yeah, I recall the meat thing. And
don't talk about meat this stream.
I don't remember talking about meat.
Do you want the shot?
I do.
So in the end, I was like, I was a bit ahead of Cobb, and I was like, so you have played, and I was kind of I was kind of thinking, what could have triggered this avalanche of pings, and I was like, oh yeah, may have to do with the Memoria crystals. Yes, and there was that, and then like I said, it was a bit ahead. And then comes a point in which we talk to Zero, and she starts talking about the 13th, and she drops the name the 13th had for the primals, and I physically punch the table, and and probably my neighbors just curse my entire ancestry, because the scream it was one of my best pterodactyl screams ever, and it was like,
You screech like a raptor or a pterodactyl?
you haven't heard me go.
I've heard a lot of your screams.
No, you haven't. And I was thinking.
Kind of threatening.
That is actually kind of threatening.
And
In the
considering
best way.
considering the number of this stream, I'm concerned.
Oh God, no! leave me out of that. But
You set yourself up for it.
So, yeah, that's true. So the thing is, like I think Cobb mentioned this in the 13 parallel video that for some reason blew up. For some reason, I know exactly the reason, but
I still don't.
I do, but we'll get about that in a moment, another time, or another moment. But that you said that Final Fantasy 13, 14 takes things from 13 to a macro level. That it's not obvious, and I describe that. You described it with the sense more like professionally. I describe it like someone who hasn't played the trilogy and is not familiar with the lore. May not the thing will fly past them, but for we who are deeply familiar with the trilogy, it's as subtle as a kick to the balls.
For we who know perfection.
That's how it felt to me, the whole Eidolon thing. But at the same time, I had to pause Blessed City Opera Omnia for this, because if not, I wouldn't know half of it. I do know, and it may well have go past people who are not familiar with the trilogy, that the term Eidolon is not just exclusive from 13, because what other titles do you think use that term? Final Fantasy 4 and Final Fantasy 9. And any 9 fan will, of course, recognize. Any 9 fan will also recognize the term Memoria, because it's a place in.
We'll go into that next week. Oh, trust me.
It's a place in Final Fantasy 9, and any Final Fantasy 4 fan will recognize the term Eidolon, and with the whole Troya, the Archfiends, and that, they will likely think, oh, this is this is basically the Final Fantasy 4 fans will think, oh, this keeps being the Final Fantasy 4 expansion. Final Fantasy 9 fans who have, well, the whole Mitty on the Endsinger and Necron and stuff, oh, this keeps being the subdued Final Fantasy 9 expansion disguised as Final Fantasy 4, and then there's me saying, oh, this keeps being the Final Fantasy 4 expansion, the Final Fantasy 13 expansion disguised as Final Fantasy 9 expansion disguised as Final Fantasy 4 expansion.
It's gonna be okay.
And it's like...
It's all the expansions for everything.
You need a breathalyzer.
Yeah, really.
And it's like for many people, it will, and that's not just the only theme, because Pandemonium. I'm not going to go on Pandemonium because because foul, and
That's
also that's next week. But at the same time, I can't go deep into Pandemonium because the things and themes it draws from the 13th trilogy are massive spoilers for you right now, but I share them with Neela, and Neela can attest the reason for why I was fucking screaming. Because it's not, I mean, many people will miss that, and many people are stuck on, the whole Emperor Matthias, but at the same time, but I'm here thinking, this is not subtle. This is not, but at the same, but I look around and I see no one's pointing it out. Why? And then I realize that I'm likely one of the very few without what?
Check your blood pressure.
It's okay. She's one of the very
Uh,
few who have played 13 and properly integrated it into her understanding of 14.
I'm one of the
Confirmed.
few. I'm not a few. I mean, I'm not saying that few people have played the 13 trilogy. I can say that I do have a reputation in the 13 fandom. That I can say. And we don't have many lore divers in the 13 trilogy fandom. I only know three people who actually have gone into deep studies, and one of them is me. So there's that. Just so you know, Cobb, you were wondering why the video blew up. Like, yeah, we don't
Yeah, I
have
don't
lore diving content for 13 in YouTube.
Oh, you're saying because it existed at all, it got upvotes.
It filled a void.
Exactly.
Nature
Oh
abhors
my
Exactly.
I'll pretend I totally meant that one. Yes. My subconscious has my back when it comes to the terrible puns.
But yes, I mean, to be fair, this patch wasn't even subtle, and I'm not going to say I was surprised because I've encountered this so many times in 14. The whole inspiration from the trilogy so evident for me, but everyone missing entirely, and everyone missing it entirely, and that's, I'm not going to say it's sad, but it saddens me because you're kind of missing an integral part of. Then again, of course, you don't have to play the trilogy to appreciate Final Fantasy 14, of course, but it's kind of just one of these things that the Cobb was yelling something before stream about next expansion is going to be the 13-2 expansion, like that, and after this patch, I'm inclined to think that may well be the case. Not
Yeah.
13-2 per se, but
It's gonna be the
deeper.
time fuckery expansion. I'm leaning towards that because everyone's expecting Marasidia, and I was too until this patch. And now I'm seeing so many parallels now that I've finished 13.2. I'm like, this is, like you said, this is not subtle, and this is very overt, and it's kind of like an inverted progression of 13.2. And I'm just like, this is misdirection, which is something that Square is notoriously good at in this game. And I hate to sound like Meowth, but yeah. She's not wrong.
Don't let time travel seep its way into this. I've had enough of it with Elpis, and
Oh.
I've had my flavor of it, my little taste of it with Alexander. I appreciate going back in time and seeing what it's like. I don't appreciate it affecting my game.
Give me a moment. Says we'll talk about the soundtrack thing next week, because today this week Pandemonium, which is the raid tier file, hasn't played it, so we're kind of spoiler keeping him away.
Thank you for
from
being
that.
gentle. We did have a schedule though from earlier this month, so
That-
this was supposed to be MSQ and next is.
So
Yeah.
so
The idea being, at least in part, that it's a little easier to get into MSQ, and a raid requires a higher eye level. So
I have to say, it says here from the chat, says Johanna, she's a treasured friend from 10 years ago from the 13 trilogy. It's been like it's been a decade. She also delves into lore diving. Her insights are great, and she's the one who spot the thing in the theme from Abyssus, which is the thing I was telling you. So yeah, contribution.
next week.
So yeah,
But-
credit where it's due.
That's
right.
awesome. Welcome to the stream. Is anyone... I don't know. This is definitely a minor complaint. The patch was amazing, but I don't know. I think part of me hoped for like a full 13th situation where with a world map and like zones and stuff.
So
Overall, at some point, I would have liked to have seen
I
that.
do, and I think that we'll eventually get that. Eventually, maybe, but at best, we got that just that little area we could run around into, which was reminiscent of Gangos, if you
True.
think about it.
I love it, but we can't go
Mhm.
back. It's locked.
Yeah.
But does anyone remember what Stola said about the Oracle of Light and Oracle of Darkness?
Go ahead.
Please remind us.
When precisely? As I'm trying to
Okay,
remember.
it was during when we were having a sit down meal with Zero.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, she didn't
Oh,
exactly
okay.
say the Oracle of Darkness, but she reminded and told Zero about how the first nearly fell to light, but the Oracle of Light halted that advance. And she mused how the 13th had the same way, except the flood had succeeded in washing over the star.
It hadn't been
What are the
stopped in time.
odds? What are the odds that we are going to bring Gaia back into this?
I
100%.
feel like she's locked behind raid content, so they'd have to make it required, which would feel kind of weird for a fairly recent raid.
They've
I'm
done
not
it
saying
before,
they
can
won't.
do it again.
I'm not saying they won't.
To be fair, if
And
they want,
actually, 1 second. Actually, if you've done Eden, there's a new bit of dialogue that
Yep.
appears and during one of the cutscenes. So that could be a thing.
Having done Eden, I don't know the difference. Which one was this? Do you remember what the bit of dialogue was?
So it was like some like-minded or special individuals had
That's right. Yeah.
cleansed the empty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they specifically
yeah.
refer to it
They do
being
refer to
an
Eden.
accomplished thing. That's right. I knew there was something. I was like sitting there like, oh, what was it?
Yeah, that's the quest progression dialogue. If you have not done Eden, it's different. It's more of they're planning to, but they haven't done it yet.
at the same time, if they wanted to make rate tiers mandatory, if they want to go into the void and the 13th and Gaia being the Oracle of Darkness, it's a great moment to do it, like they did with the Crystal Tower raids. Not the first time, and also Evil is mandatory for Blosia. And at the same time, they are going for a time fuckery expansion, Alexander.
That could be why they shortened the progression in the Evilise quests. They took out the bacon bread nonsense.
Oh,
and,
thank God!
and they took out the wine thing, so they did make the Evilise quests in between a little bit shorter. It's still very dialogue and cutscene heavy. But
Does this mean that we can look forward to people stop whining about those quests?
no, absolutely not. People bitch about it.
Now they're gonna whine that they're gone. See, back in my day, I had to get bacon bread. It cost
And
2,000
wine.
dill on the market board. It was terrible.
And that delicious Dalmascan rose, I miss it so.
Oh.
So yeah,
Wow.
and Sayela and Unakalai have new dialogue after the 13th about Memoriates. Does anyone want to go over that?
I mean, Unukalai and Taynor were already working on studying the void. So if we're having the other party looking into the void with Silva, Taynor, Becklug, and Unukalai on one side, and now we've found another side from the source, then who's to say that from their side, if they're opening void gates thanks to Taynor, if they make Eden mandatory, they could just jeet Gaia into the 13th, and we meet then we meet them from the other side without having to travel to the first.
So the dialogue that I have pulled up here, Unikalai says, "What? With our methods, we can barely maintain a fake connection to the 13th, but you say you've journeyed there? Incredible. Such drive Archon Stola must have to uncover the secrets of the Cross Rift travel. And to conceive of creating an artificial Atomos could only be described as inspired. Suffice it to say, I should like nothing more than to join you on your future forays, but I will abide by in patience for now. You already have a capable guide at your disposal, and my presence would be extraneous. Besides, there are certain tasks that require me to be here in the first. For one, I wish to learn more about the approach they use to revive the empty. 'Tis my hope that the self-same can be applied in the 13th, and to that end, I've arranged to meet with those involved."
Yeah, that's going to be required.
I'm here for it.
I'm going to bring up the other one. Just continue talking. It's fine. Let's see, Sayela, what? Not only did you travel to the 13th, you encountered a Memoriat besides. Wicked White, that's nothing short of a miracle. I used to be a Memoriat myself, but I lost my powers when the Asians plucked me out of the void. It's astounding to think that Zero managed to survive with hers all this time. Though she claimed to have no desire to save our world, as a compatriot, I should still be keen to meet her. There's only so many of us left, after all, those who haven't completely lost themselves. Also, I know full well that you and yours have your own objective in the 13th, but should you discover aught that might lead to its restoration, I'd thank you to share it with me. So those are the two that have special dialogue after you complete 6.2.
I like it.
Is 6.3 here yet?
No.
Is it here
Not
yet?
till December.
Is it now? Is it here now?
Alas.
Is it here now?
Not till December.
It'll be a lovely.
If you ask
Christmas
long
gift.
enough, it'll become here.
Listen, they gave us
So-
Island Sanctuary because we need it to survive.
Yeah, no, I haven't left the island.
Oh, you're the reason I can't get in.
Yep. That's too bad. Wait, you're not even on my server. I'm not even on my data center.
Doesn't matter.
You can still be the scapegoat, though.
I am the reason that
Exactly.
people on Excalibur are suffering.
I knew it.
But yeah, the extra kind of 2 weeks that the dev team has needed to kind of roll out their patches, you can definitely tell has enhanced the experience that we have received thus far in this patch. When you compare 6.1 and 6.2, you can definitely tell that the audio quality has improved. The story quality is jumped up a little bit. The content, there's a lot more of it. So I'm happy that they chose to go on a 4 month instead of a 3.5 month schedule.
Yeah, I agree. You can tell. It's so enjoyable. Kaslo in chat mentioned, I wonder if Zero can use her Memoriat power on the source. So the only lore we have on this is the fact that Sayela lost her powers when she was plucked from the void, but she also lost her body, right? This was one of those, you have to get to the rift, Warrior of Darkness,
Yeah,
traversing.
The way
so
she traveled was very different.
This is different. We just opened a portal and she walks through. So I didn't think about this until now, but isn't that a problem, actually?
It shouldn't
How
be
so?
a problem.
Isn't
I
that
don't
a
see
lore
it
problem? Why
personally.
couldn't the Asians just open a void portal? Void portal.
Well, I think okay. My
hold on.
personal take on this would be the Asians had a hammer in the shape of bodiless travel. When you have a hammer, you don't look for another solution, you use your hammer.
But they could just walk through.
So I agree with
No,
Neela.
the portals weren't big enough. They'd have had to like do some craziness and expand them.
Yeah.
Oh
I
no,
agree with
woe is
Neela.
me. I'm a paragon of the ancient world. I can't do that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
But basically,
mean,
In my
because
opinion,
I mean,
we
it
found a way through because we didn't have another way. They had
it
another way.
was, or I mean, they could have just jumped into an Atomos, but
Go ahead, Cobran.
no, basically it's the whole necessity breeds creativity argument. The Asians being, or the unsundered Asians rather, namely Elidibus, not needing to find another way, wouldn't have thought to look for one. He would have just said, "This is how we do it. Let's go."
This is fine. World burns.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll leave you behind. Plus, the Memoria power, considering that they could turn primals into basically white aurosite crystals, um, could conceivably do the same to the Asians,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's not something
dangerous.
I think they would want to keep around if possible.
I would take the "it's dangerous" as a reason. I just now think it needs to be addressed. Of course, they're all dead, aren't they?
No. Well, all the Unsundered are, yeah. But...
Yeah.
The concept of death is also brought in the 13th, as in what does really mean to be dead, because, for example, you could argue that Nuclei and Silva may be dead because they don't really have a body. They're just like in pretty much stuck the same situation as the Scions were in Shadowbringers, in which actually Alice poses this question to Alfina in Ilmeg, when Alfina comments on the pixies being the souls of children taking form, and Alice poses the question if ghosts are basically bodiless souls, then what does that make us? And then in the 13th, we have the circumstance that if your body is killed, you still reform. And then, of course, there's the whole thing with the Asians and their reincarnation. So, what actually means death in this setting? Could you argue that becoming a Memoria crystal is a form of death, or
Depends on
they're
if you can talk when you're
actually,
inside the rock.
yeah, or
Is it
you
a
can.
stasis?
We know
Mhm.
aurosites have voices. They speak. So
So it's just this thing of, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to no. It's just that I don't really want to go into more 13th big things, but to me, what seems real death, not even going into the live stream, as you because we know how things go in the live stream in the underworld. Uh, Real death would be like the concept of cessation of existence,
Which is what
and
Medion was doing.
yeah, I'm going to leave that there. Because it's kind of, but in it to
Rhapsodic in the chat says, "Good thing those Memoria can't break, because that would be a problem since we're carrying Barbaricia around in our pocket."
and the scar.
I don't see a problem with that.
I was going
I'm
to say,
sure
that's
Yeah.
carrying it nice and tight.
Like, I'm sure that's not going to come to bite us in the butt later.
Somewhere else.
This is who we are.
But yes, so yeah, there's that, and it's quite interesting, the thing about um, the nature of a darkness field, or astrally charged landscape, preventing death outright. Like, I mean, even the concept of shallow death, like, yeah, you die, your soul leaves your body, and then not even the 13th actually just stick around dead for much, which makes me think exactly what would have been the deal on Northrend, or, well, the first, if the flood of light had happened. I know it's a stasis, but
It would have been just
I
erasing everything.
I think it would just be like kind of a little bit like oh gosh, Black Rose, just fall down dead, stay that way. It's a little worrisome.
I had thought,
Yeah. Because I'm thinking. I'm thinking. I'm just. I'm just having many thoughts. Sorry, I apologize. Go on.
Shadow Meowth has become quick thinks all thoughts.
Yeah.
it's a good opportunity to address what's going on in chat. Actually, then I had thought about this a little bit last night, not in detail, but the notion that maybe Golbez's original plot was to create archfiends of the elements and then get them killed and then use their rocks to restabilize the 13th or some such version of this.
He's still missing 2 elements. If that's
He
the
is,
case.
yeah. But is it worth thinking about?
I mean, well, you could see Asdaja as ice, because Asdaja is definitely when she's shown, she's definitely has this icy aura around, and lightning is the closest element to darkness, to astral. So maybe Golbez is lightning.
Golbez seems
It re-
content to let Asdaja just be a battery, not like necessarily an elementally oriented thing.
Remember though, he had that scout that he had the little floaty thing that looked very lightning-ish. Which wasn't a fiend, obviously, but it was definitely some kind of immune. I'm very suspicious about that. That was like some kind of a spy, and I'm like,
To be fair, the entire I mean, with lightning being the element most closely aligned to darkness. I'm sorry. I'm I'm just having.
good.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Problem.
Sorry, no, I just I know there's someone in chat that I'm just likely giving some Vietnam War flashbacks with the elemental wheel. That's excuse me, I'm fine.
I'm fine. Raucous laughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
Long story. I was saying with lightning being the closest, the element closest to to darkness, maybe all the voicings are naturally aligned to it. But he would be missing ice, with which is the closest. His Golbez is missing the most polarity aligned elements in his court. He's missing lightning, which is the closest to darkness. He's missing ice, the closest to light. If we don't count Asya.
It's something I'd actually thought about too, specifically thinking about the classical elements, which are the 4 fiend elements from, early Final Fantasy games, and then they've added in ice and lightning. And just having those 2 be at the pole, I feel like it's probably intentional. They set it up so well with like that this thing gives rise to that thing, that sometimes I wonder if they which came first in this cosmology. Whether they used one to explain the other they explain the one, or if they're like, oh my god, it fits perfectly.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of because what we did with Eden was restoring the elements, and we did it in a pretty. I mean, we didn't follow the elemental wheel with Eden actually, because we start with water, then we go with earth. I'm trying to remember the order, and we actually go in the we start with the conquest, and later proceed with the submissions, right? Because we start with water, then earth, then lightning, and then we go fire and wind for combine, and then ice, which is the last one.
And then darkness.
And then darkness. We go to the other polarity, and then we go to the
But
Yeah.
yeah, that is interesting.
I mean, yeah. So it's it's a wheel. It doesn't have to have a starting point, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's how wheels work. I mean, I'm being funny, but it's also true. Speaking of wheel, didn't they say something about like the wheel of rebirth or something? At some point, I remember my brain tripping over that and being like, you know, what?
That it doesn't seem to function on the 13th at all.
Yeah, but the phrasing I found really interesting. Because it made me
Samsara
think
was
of Chaos
correct.
Walker of the Wheel.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah. That's
The Esper in opposition to Mitran. But
to Mitran,
they aren't
yeah.
always connected, as we know, to the Ascian in question. And sometimes they are.
Just more proof that my little musing about his throne lines up. But I hope I'm wrong about that, and I hope I look like an idiot for saying that. So
I hope I'm wrong about 0.
That is part of the struggle, isn't it? You want to know everything, but you want to not be right because then you'll have predicted it and destroy the thing you love.
Mm.
I suppose.
Why is my only
I hope you're wrong about the time travel expansion.
Just turns into an episode of Doctor Who.
Blonde Rihanna was everything I wanted in Barbaricia.
I mean, that's fair.
There's one
But
heck
I
of a
mean,
sword.
I appreciate Barbaritia for many reasons.
Nice.
But I think everyone does. But I mean, considering I'm not familiar with 4, except having played the Final Fantasy 1 remake, Dawn of Souls, which came with the extra dungeons when you fight the bosses from or some bosses from 3, 4, 5, and 6, and of course the Archfiends are one of the bosses you fight there, and that's my only experience with 4 basically, aside Opera Omnia, aside the City Opera Omnia and Record Keeper. But yeah, I actually appreciate I don't know the story behind the Archfiends per se, but I don't really mind because in this context, like 14 recontextualizes everything. So like Golbez, for example, we don't know the deal with Golbez yet, but we certainly don't. We certainly know that he's not Cecil's brother here.
Yeah, I would say and actually highly recommend playing through 4, particularly because you're such a big fan of 13, and a lot of things in 13 come from 4, like Eidolons, Palamporum, all that stuff is from 4.
It's funny, the one main thing I observed about Barbaricia is that voice actress, she knocked it out of the park.
Oh my
Listening
god,
to the
yes.
lines,
True,
and it's
true.
like, it's got this like suave, debonair isn't the word, like ladylike, but in a very strong way, and then she's like, dodge this if you can, and there's a little growl, and it's so good, and I'm like, holy cow, like just amazing, fantastic work. I listen to that, I'm just like, chef's kiss.
Do we love her the same way we love Fordola?
One can only hope. I think she's cool anyway.
The trial was I have to say it was kind of a what the fuck moment, because I didn't expect the trial, because they didn't announce. I think they did announce the trial on patch notes. I wasn't expecting the trial. I expected the Archfiends to be trials, but like side story as they usually do, not included in the story. That was something really if anything, something they usually do for the X.3 patches, not for the X.2 patches.
Yeah,
So it was a
Meowth.
pleasant surprise.
I'm really
What?
happy with that actually, because it is a
Yeah.
return to a Realm Reborn, and it's
True.
just a better paradigm. It makes them all mandatory. They're cool as hell. They get MSQ
didn't say-
treatment.
Yeah, I didn't say I wasn't. I said I was surprised that to return to that formula, not that I wasn't pleased with it.
Oh no, I understood, and I'm agreeing.
Well, we just want to discuss that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a really
awesome.
good choice, especially for this
Uh,
particular
yeah.
storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, since it's a new beginning, I mean, I guess it checks. But at the same time, the trial itself, I'm not going into pandemonium, but the dungeon itself had great mechanics. And look, I usually don't go into gameplay, but I think I have to mention this because the mechanics had me like, what the fuck is going on here? Because I never seen this. Oh, they work like this. It's in the end, it's stuff we've seen before, but they've actually knocked out the park with mechanics this patch. I think.
No,
And
I agree.
I'm not one,
I agree
and
with
I'm
you.
not one about to talk about mechanics.
No, it's fine. I agree with you. Actually, most of Endwalker has been like this, where they really they kind of expect you to put on your big kid pants and just actually remember what you've dealt with for the last 4 expansions, you know. So like they're a little
Yeah.
bit more complex, a little bit more action, and like get the heck out of the way. And I like it a lot.
Yeah, I was doing the I think the normal version of the Barbaricha fight, and I was like, ooh, my friend with some physical disability is gonna have a rough time with this one.
Oh,
but
for sure.
they do walk a balance between like getting too samey and sometimes making it on the harder side. And it's okay either way, you know. But you know, that was what I
Yeah.
thought. It was like, I'm doing okay, but not everyone will be.
I was curious when the patch dropped whether we would have NPC trial options or if it would be party, and obviously it answered itself. But I was curious. It was a design choice. They could have taken it either way.
I had thought about it too. I was actually wondering if we could scrape together enough NPCs. I was like, it might be tricky, but it would be cool.
I don't know if people agree with me, but I am kind of getting tired of the crystal spam. I wonder when they're going to turn off the juice.
I mean, it's. I mean,
They make it this big,
I-
fantastical moment, and I'm just like, we've seen it, guys. Like,
I want you to understand that my brain went somewhere very different with crystal spam.
okay.
And it wasn't crystal spam, it was
We need to
crystal
drop the
spam.
69 things.
No,
So
I mean like actual food. Spam.
I want to talk about the crystal spam because there's a gag of it in one of the videos that we're going to be dropping in the next couple of weeks.
Alex,
where-
meaning the Azem crystal is being overused.
Yeah. Where basically we're
Yeah, it was
using it at the
confusing,
drop
okay.
of a hat now, and so it's the dinner party, the Scions are all there, and someone's like, hey, we could really use some ketchup. And Azem pulls out the crystal and is like, summons everybody, we need ketchup. And you've got, 7 other people who show up with bottles of ketchup.
I mean, on the one hand, I can appreciate that, but on the other hand, I was happy to see it. That it wasn't just going to get forgotten. Like, I kind of want it to be something that's still referenced here and there.
I would have been disappointed if it was like, oh, sorry, you used up the juice, you can't do it anymore. But as I'd figured, it is indeed an invocation. You just got to juice it up and go again.
Oh, here's another one. We dropped it in 5.3. What did we attach?
Yep.
Velcro to it?
We fixed the hole in our pocket.
we
Yes.
got
But the
Tataru
un-
to sew a
what
pocket. All right.
What I'm hoping is, even though they said it has a singular spell in it, we know that it can be infused with other things.
Yes.
And there's nothing to say that when we went back to Elpis or when Heidelin put something in it, that there wasn't something else that was put in it as well that we have yet to discover.
Just
So it's basically a MacGuffin that they can use to
it is
basically
absolutely.
do
Yeah.
whatever they want.
I'm personally hoping they don't go that route, though I know a lot of people do hope for it, so someone will be happy.
And
I personally, I'm neutral towards Asim's crystal. I would like to know more about Asim's crystal if there's anything else. But at this point, I think the arc of the crystal is also fairly close enough, so I don't mind if they. I appreciate that they keep using it as sort of our explanation for Duty Finder, because I mean I like things that tie in with game necessary mechanics, and Asim's crystal is precisely that. But yeah, I think for me it could go either way, and I would be fine with it. I'm more interested about they actually managed to catch my attention with this new arc, which doesn't mean they're going to forget the ancients and the stuff, of course. But they said that it's a fucking lie.
They've never said that. It's Zodiac and Heidelin they purport to
Yeah.
move on from, but that's like saying, well, we've defeated God, so God is over. Be like, no, there's still people who know about God. There's still people talking about God. There's all these churches with windows
Yep.
depicting God. Like, it's not that simple.
They just meant we finished the Heidelin Zodiac saga.
Yes.
That is all they meant.
Exactly.
Also, going back to the comment about singular spell, in colloquial English, that denotes being exceptional or like one of a kind. It doesn't mean there's only one in it or that only one can fit. Singular
exactly.
meaning exceptional, good, great, remarkable. So not a
that's the
single
way-
spell, a singular
That's the
spell.
way. That's the way.
You said. Sorry, go ahead, Meowth.
No, I'm sorry. That was always the way I've interpreted. I interpreted that that comment with the singular spell, because I guess to be fair, this is actually more like a language coincidence, because that same word, which is spelled the same in Spanish, means exactly one of a kind. We don't use singular as to say only. We use that as to say unique. So for me, I
That's right.
subconsciously associate that to the meaning Fao just mentioned. So yeah.
So that's very funny, because I was also going to bring up a language comment, because you said good, greater, and that reminded me that people may not know or remember that Azim, same as Azim and Azima, is Arabic for greater.
True.
That's why I've never had trouble pronouncing Azim. It's Azim or Azim, depending on the context and stuff.
I mean, never have problems myself pronouncing it. Only to remind myself to pronounce the C like zzz. That's the only thing.
Because, well, actually, I say it could be greater, but it can, if you're knocking off, if there's a the there, but you're knocking off, because it's like Azim, that's great. Adam, greater. Al Adam, al means the greatest. So it could be the greatest.
True. And
that just brought that to mind, and I was like, oh right.
I just imagined something, Neela. I just imagined Elidibus, when he says, clad in prayer, I am immortal. I'm imagining him saying, I am the greatest. Same voice, though.
Dresses myself up in your clothes, LOL.
All of this is making me think about, because we've have Arabic discussions before. Not me, I don't know shit about Arabic, except a few
there are 3 places I'm gonna talk about them.
Root words, but I'm I've seen, I don't really go into the discussion channels, but I've seen you guys discuss the heart of Sabik in regard with Memoria crystals.
Yeah, this is a weird one. We know what memorial crystals look like now. I mean, they're not anything like what we've seen or what we would expect from an auracite. We presume I think at least the brain doesn't work.
Mood.
The heart of Sabik is actually the crystal you can physically see on the head of Ultima. It's the black. Is that
or
what
like
we all
on
think?
Its chest, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's on the chest.
Because it glows. It starts
glows when
glowing
the spell
once it
goes
does
off.
the attack.
Yeah, so we know what that looks like as well. It's like what you would imagine a black materia looking like, and they're completely different.
Yeah, materia is the word. That's right. Again, could be something built around it. It also could just be something they're gonna soft retcon, or just be fluff up from ARR, because that was a while ago.
Sure was.
I'm more intrigued about they actually retcon a few things about Praetorium, and so fair if they did. But I'm kind of thinking that one of the great questions that it's not still addressed is what exactly auracite is. what exactly differentiates Auracite from Magicite, or
Still waiting on my 4-hour lecture from La Habrea on the differences and everything.
I imagine Auracite as a crystal
lectures.
containing a soul.
That's how you
kind
call
of full
it.
stop.
Fusu, it's a TED talk.
Fair. That's fair.
Did you catch me,
What do you think
Neela?
they called TED Talks in Amarat?
Lead talks. Lead talks.
Hall of Rhetoric semesters or seminars or whatever.
Hall of Rhetoric, so Whore Talks. I don't know why we're laughing.
Har har
Or
har.
or if they're like if they're at the Uniters, they're like word talks.
Oh, they could have like word of and then whatever the seat. I like that actually.
Zem talks.
Yeah, Alex has a point. I mean, it could just be that Unakahai was using the word Auracite because we're familiar with it on our shard, and maybe it was always Memoria over there. I don't know.
I mean,
I think he was just a kid and didn't know any better.
Yeah, 20,000-year-old kid.
I would advance the possibility that Memoria is the name for a specific type of Arsite, because we see different kinds. There's the white Arsite that does this, the black Holy Stone, black Arsite, that's the Heart of Sabik. There's another kind I was thinking of.
You just pluck them out of her.
Stones.
I make all
and then, of course,
Auracite, the monster.
Because the Memoria are very different from like what we stuffed Nabrialis and Igiorm into.
Yes, very
both
much.
in function, because it didn't hold for very long, and in form. And in purpose, beyond, stick a soul in there, because these Memoria appear to remain for more than a few minutes, unlike like Nabrialis was going to break out.
Yeah, who's walking around collecting these?
Seriously,
I mean
very
it.
good question.
I really mean it, because, guys.
I mean,
can we bring them to the source?
Why isn't Zero just eating them? And you never need...
Well, she doesn't want to.
I know, but in crystal
herself,
form, right? In
yes.
crystal form, like maybe it does a thing. I don't know. I'm just trying to think on my feet here.
Bear in mind, y'all, the 13th fell because these Memoriates were creating these Memoria, and then I guess they were using them for power. I'm not 100% sure on the details, but they carried these things around with them. They seem to be using them for, I have to look it up.
Yeah, well, the explanation basically says they start playing Pokemon.
And they bled primal energies, corrupting them.
Now
so these things ain't forever. These things. That's why I'm not sure we want to carry them. That's what I'm getting at.
You know the thing.
Let Sarah say something real quick.
Oh, okay.
No, that was it.
You know the
I
thing.
didn't hear what you said.
And I'm going to pull again from the 13th trilogy. You're going to grow sick of seeing this stream of hearing that. Auracite in original Japanese tactics context and still bled into Divalis quests. As Mikoto explains how at least Ultima's Auracite works. They're usually considered soul crystals of sort. Like if you recall, Ultima's Auracite works that it modifies your soul. Like it takes it away. It stores into the Auracite. The Auracite modifies it with your desires of sort, and it returns to you, and that's when you become a Lucavi. The thing is, the concept of soul crystal, for those who have played Final Fantasy 13, and if you know the lore enough, when you're branded a seed, the crystal that you manifest to summon an Eidolon is actually a manifestation of your soul. And it takes the shape of something that represents the person the sea branded is. So when they went into this Memoria Auracite stuff and having to do with Eidolons, and I was just thinking to myself, oh fuck, they are Eidolons. Just that they don't take in this setting, they're not taking any particular shape. Like the shape is the same, but the concept, like if you know your thing, it's like yeah. So yeah, there's that.
All in all, this has been a very big patch for us to speak about.
So I just want to toss this out there. Did anyone run the vault with cutscenes after this patch went live?
I haven't.
So they retconned how Harshafat died.
Oh.
Oh,
Did they?
Oh.
I wasn't able to bring myself to do it because it's like I've had enough of parts.
I haven't
So-
played. I haven't played those chains myself.
So basically, I guess they did it to address the whole trying to heal Harshafat, which was actually addressed
I was
in
gonna say that was addressed in Extreme.
It was addressed in the Stormblood White Mage quests as well. Why you couldn't have saved him, but now Alphino tries. So I thought that was an interesting choice. But yeah, the wound is too deep. It's too grave, and they can't save him.
The extreme version of the fight puts a healing down debuff on the person it hits. It's right there. It's in the savage. Or it's in the extreme fight. But
In
most people don't know
TSR.
this.
Thornton
No,
in general.
in Thornton Extreme.
So the
regular,
knight
Oh.
that slays him gives a healing
Mhm.
down.
That spear is actually sent at the party, and he makes a comment about Harshafat. Though I forget exactly.
No
what it was.
chat, just regular extreme Thornton.
Receive regular old released with Heaven's Word Extreme Thornton, healing down debuff from the guy who throws the spear, throwing another spear and making a comment about Harshafat. It was right there, but I guess I understand people are very passionate about Harshafat, and it makes them really
just
want to
think-
save him. That's fair. I 100%
I just think
get it.
people weren't paying attention.
I mean, there could be an element of that too.
No, Horsefan doesn't show up in Thornton X. It's just that the attack Zephyrin uses on you on Thornton X is the same spear, the Spear of the Fury, I think it's called.
And it
the
gives a
same-
healing down debuff.
and basically you have to. It's one of these line stack, and the tanks have to go in front and basically eat the thing, and it gives them the same that debuff. And well, Horsefan is a tank, so
It's
yeah,
a bit
there's
subtle,
that.
though. I mean, truthfully, that's a bit subtle. I'm not
is subtle,
surprised, and it sounds like a good
just dig
retcon,
into things.
actually.
I don't have a problem with it. It's just
Yeah.
funny to me because, well, for me, like that was the first thing I keyed into in this game. Before I got into the lore, I was really into fight mechanics and the way the fight mechanics and the story interacted specifically. I'm fascinated by that. Absolutely love it. So I picked up on that a little earlier, I guess. I don't know. I didn't pick up on it at Heaven's Word. It was a couple expansions later.
Yeah, Paxel saying it hits tank, then party, then healer. It hits all 7 people. So yeah, that one's hard to heal on one person
but
who's not max level. And
When you were at the eye level, that one was hell. You have one person out of the stack, and it's like rip.
It's really hard to solo Thornton X even still because of that mechanic.
Mhm. Which I
well,
think is cool.
we
if
are
frustrating at times.
a little bit over time,
Oh,
but that's fine. I hope everyone had a great podcast experience today. I had fun as always. Before we sign off, I believe we have run the
Yes, we have.
the giveaway, right, Ayumi?
Yes, I ran it the other night, and I'm sorry it wasn't on stream.
Yeah, it's my responsibility to make sure Marbles functions, and it crashed 3 times for anyone who wasn't here. So even after repairing it on stream, we couldn't get it to work. And in the future, we will just use a different alternative. So
I'm sorry, guys. We lost our marbles.
we lost our Marbles. But yeah, in the future, we've got a few backup options. There's a Twitch plugin we can use. There's Wheel of Names, which is what we used this time. But we just did a Wheel of Fortune with all the names who liked our post on Twitter, and we came out with the results. So, Ayumi?
The winner is at Luxus _. If you're watching, congratulations.
If
And-
not, we'll be in contact.
Exactly. So, what are we
And
giving
thanks so
away
much.
again, Cobron?
The Asian hoodie. by IsomoArt.
It's really gorgeous hoodie.
Very excited.
If you didn't win, you should still check them out.
Hmm.
I'm going to supply a link to chat so people can see it.
Well, I'm trying to think if I have any final remarks. I feel like there was a lot this patch, and I'm sure I've missed stuff, but I mean, I'll go crazy on
Yeah.
it later, I guess.
I mean, we can devote an entire episode to Island Sanctuary if you want.
Yeah, that's fair.
I only just started that last night.
Yeah, I'm kind of taking it chill, so to speak.
The worst
Be
part of
ready
it
to lose your mind.
is the fact that for 2 days you're forced to give your mammoths a rest, and I want to work them to death until they fall apart.
Wow.
This is
Wow.
not the slow life. This is an island slave camp for mammoths.
Rude. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off. Next week, we'll be discussing the new Pandemonium raids. I won't personally be here. I have to travel out of town, but I hope you all have a blast, and I will definitely tune in from the road. So with that, unless there's any final thing to report or sentiments or questions, we can go ahead and go to credits and say see you next week.
Yeah, the raids are fun. If you haven't gotten to them, try to make the time if you need a pocket healer. I'm not good at healing, but I'll keep you alive. Poke me. I love running stuff with people.
You will find me on my island sanctuary normally, just
Someday I'll
because
do Island
it's
Sanctuary.
an investment.
Yeah, I bet it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited. After
I mean,
Pandemonium,
it doesn't
that's my
take the
next.
place of housing, but it comes damn near close, really close.
Oh, I'm excited. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks for coming on,
Care.
everybody.